Welcome to another exciting episode of Business Unleashed, a Plano Chamber podcast, presented by Baylor Scott and White Plano. Today, we're diving into the complex world of artificial intelligence with our guests Vincent Allen and Rob Taylor from Carstens, Allen & Gorley. In this episode, we'll explore the legal landscape of AI adoption, including intellectual property, copyright infringement, protection of confidential information, and compliance with privacy laws. We'll also discuss the Carstens, Allen & Gorley's AI Triage Center and its role in guiding businesses through the legal challenges of AI implementation. Get ready to uncover how AI is transforming industries and creating new opportunities for those who embrace its potential. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Business Unleashed, a Plano Chamber podcast. Today we have two very special guests. We have our very own Vincent Allen, partner at Carstens, Allen & Gorley. Vincent is a part of our board, and we're very excited to have him here. We're also having Rob Taylor, counsel at Carstens, Allen & Gorley, with us. Gentlemen, you want to take a moment and introduce yourselves to our listeners?
Yeah, hi, I'm Vince Allen. As Lakia mentioned, I'm on the board. We've been involved with the Plano Chamber for about 2 years now, and it's been a very good opportunity for us. We're grateful for that and grateful for the ability to be able to be a part of the State of AI panel that was held recently. And also super excited to announce the addition of Rob Taylor, who's an AI law expert to our firm, and he's starting up the AI Triage Center for us.
Yep, I'm glad to have joined forces with Carstens, Allen & Gorley and Vince Allen, and really bring an extension to what they've already been doing in the technology space and AI space. And then I've spent most of my career in technology, handling various aspects of client needs, from litigation to development of products and bringing them to market, and navigating all the legal issues associated with things. And so I've done that for large global companies to startups and hyper growth companies. And most recently, since Gen AI hit the market, I've been working with clients in looking at use cases that are the most in demand for deploying generative AI into business operations, business solutions, and helping them navigate through all the many legal issues and risks associated with incorporating generative AI into business operations and solutions, whether you're a developer of a Gen AI solution or whether you're a user of some third-party Gen AI solution. So I help clients navigate all those issues.
That's really cool. I think this topic couldn't be more timely with how AI is just taking over. Like here at the chamber, we've had a couple of, in addition to our State of AI larger event, we've held some events for like small businesses on AI. But every office, whether you're a small business or Fortune 500 company, is talking about AI and its effect on everything. So I think this conversation couldn't have come at a better time for us to kind of, dig deep and learn about, what you all have to say about it and share more with our listeners about, how they can be protected and all of those different things. So it couldn't be a better time to talk about this. So Vincent, could you share with our listeners a little bit? You have a very vast background. You've been from one aspect to the next. Could you share with us how you kind of transitioned from electrical engineering to law?
Sure. So I'm gonna start. When I was a toddler, about 4 years old, I was known for tearing things apart, including the toaster oven and the cuckoo clock, because I wanted to find out, how does that work? Why does that bird come out of there like that? I was always inquisitive in my nature, and that followed me to this day throughout my life. I grew up on a farm. We were always, working on old equipment to, make it work again so we could do whatever job we were working on at the time. I decided ultimately to go to aircraft maintenance school right out of high school because of that mechanical background. But when I was in maintenance school, I really enjoyed the electrical classes that I was taking. And so I decided to go to electrical engineering school thinking I was going to go into avionics. But my senior year in engineering school, my professor suggested that I go and get a master's in electrical engineering. And I started thinking about that and, what are the opportunities other than just going to work in the field after graduation? What could I do? Well, this is about the time that the internet started becoming popular, and I decided to get on the internet and start doing some searches. And I stumbled across patent law, and there was a big demand for electrical engineers to go into patent law because you have to have a technical background in order to be able to do that. And so that led me to think, well, I've always enjoyed the legal classes that I took. I took a business law class, but I never really, at that time, had never really thought I would ever be a lawyer up until that point. But the more that I read about it, the more I felt like it was a good opportunity for me. And so I went to law school at Baylor. Um, ended up, I've always loved aviation. I got my pilot's license as well in an old Cessna 140 that I had restored from a basket case when I was in aircraft maintenance school. So I loved aviation. I still wanted to be involved in that. And so I looked for an attorney who did both aviation law and patent law. And there was one attorney in the whole state of Texas, and he was one of the founding partners of Carstens, Allen and Gorley, Colin Cahoon. And he's still with the firm, but he's of counsel and semi-retired right now. But he's the reason that I came to this firm when I got out of law school, and I started practicing both intellectual property law, so patents, trademarks, copyrights, as well as aviation litigation, both of which involve, a lot of technical cases and, requirement to understand the technology behind whatever it is you're doing for that particular client. So it allowed me to continue that inquisitive nature over the years. And then when Chat GPT came around, I guess it's been a year and a half ago now. When it first came out, I said, "Well, I'm looking at this," and I started playing around with it, and I said, "Wow, this is the you know greatest thing I've seen in a long time. I think this is going to be huge." And that's when I decided to start studying it. We did a first presentation on artificial intelligence back in June of last year. Again, when it had only been this Chat GPT phenomenon had only been around, about 6 months at that point. And we've continued to do presentations. We've continued to develop our expertise in that area, and we've really, with the addition of Rob Taylor now, we've really expanded our offerings, not just intellectual property, but also to compliance and fractional general counsel type work.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I think that how Chat GBT has exploded almost is like just phenomenal. I can remember the day I started using Chat GBT for the first time. I was, just scrolling on Twitter and I was like, what? Okay, so I looked it up and I was just like blown away by what it can do. And it's just amazing to see how, from that point up until now, how it's evolved even much more than that from that original time. It's amazing. And I've tried to tell everybody to use it. So you mentioned, Rob, you're acting as the fractional general counsel, now for a number of companies who don't have in-house counsel. Can you explain like what that means and tell me about your background and how you, got involved in this?
Sure. Startups and emerging growth companies may not be at the stage where they can hire a full-time general counsel dedicated to the business. And I have served as general counsel for a variety of companies in-house dedicated to the business. And the beauty of being a general counsel is you are more embedded in the business. You understand the entirety of the business operations, the technologies they use, and all the processes involved and their business model, right? So a fractional general counsel is essentially the same position, but on a fractional basis. And the whole fractional C-suite roles really started decades ago with the fractional CFO. And now that's morphed into pretty much, other than the CEO, the entire C-suite can be on a fractional basis. And it really allows companies that are in that growth phase before they're ready to bring on the full-time executives, the ability to tap that expertise in helping fuel the growth and having that seasoned perspective on the business and having that fractional dedication to the business. So that's one of the things that I do. And like Vince, although I didn't go the engineering route as a child, I remember I was very inquisitive, and I remember my parents bought me a set of, I think it was a set of books called Tell Me Why, because I was always asking, well, why is this that way? And why does, what's the reason behind this? And so I was always very inquisitive. And then in high school, I was kind of a nerd. And I remember there was a group called Future Problem Solvers of America that I was a member of. And we used to go through hypotheticals and think through scenarios and try to solve for future problems. And that was very interesting. But my whole career I've spent as a technology attorney. And so the one thing that I found is that I'm more effective as an attorney by taking the time to understand the technologies and the business and the operations, which I think is a differentiator. The primary purpose of a lawyer in providing guidance to clients is to help clients spot issues, identify the risks, develop risk mitigation so that the client can make an informed decision. And it's not about saying no, it's about finding a path forward to yes in a very pragmatic way. And that involves collaborating with the business. And so I've spent my whole career doing that in technology. So it was kind of a natural segue when Gen AI hit the forefront, that working with clients, developing solutions, navigating all those issues. It's really the same process with generative AI. It's something new. It's it's a much more complicated set of issues to navigate through. It encompasses many areas of the law, and it's not about the evolving laws, but there's an existing body of laws that already applies to how businesses operate. Introducing Gen AI and the inherent problems with Gen AI magnifies some of those risks. And of course, the new emerging laws and regulations on AI will be an added layer of issues that companies, whether they're developers of solutions or users, need to comply with. And that gets into the kind of the compliance aspect of how do you manage those risks on an ongoing basis. But it all starts with assessing what is the use case, what is it you're specifically going to do with the solution, what are those risks, how can we mitigate against them, and then developing an ongoing compliance plan to monitor those solutions to ensure that they're not drifting or morphing in ways where bias is a problem, errors and hallucinations. And those are inherent when you incorporate Gen AI into your processes and solutions.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal. Vincent, you all are creating a new AI triage center in your firm. Why did you decide to embark on this?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I got interested in artificial intelligence right after ChatGPT came to market, and I started studying it then. We were interested, not just in the IP issues, but also in some of the compliance issues that may come up, such as using confidential information with ChatGPT. What's the output going to look like? Is it infringing? Is it accurate? So we were looking at those sort of questions, and we were also presenting on those issues. And we again had the opportunity to be on the State of AI panel recently. And in connection with preparing for that, I was talking to Rob about one of his clients' intellectual property issues. He had a client that needed some potential patent work done on an invention that they were working on. But he happened to mention that he was heavy into AI compliance work. And I told him, I said, well, I'd really like to have a conversation with you about that because I'm going to be on a panel and I'd like to educate myself as much as I can about what the issues are from your perspective. And so we had lunch and I met with him and was immediately impressed with the depth of knowledge that Rob already had. I mean, just working, less than a year at the time on AI solutions. I mean, he knew quite a bit already, what issues come up and how to dissect the various AI solutions and determine, whether they were compliant or not. And so I invited him to come to the panel. He did. He, listened to what we had to say, and then we had a lunch again later, and he introduced the idea of collaborating and forming this AI triage center. And I didn't blink an eye. I said, yes, let's do it. And that's why we decided to bring Rob on board.
Before we dive deeper into our discussion with Vincent Allen and Rob Taylor, we wanted to share some highlights from our recent State of AI event. This event brought together industry leaders and experts to discuss the current trends, challenges, and future of artificial intelligence. Let's listen to some key takeaways from the event.
And so, if there's something I would say about day one on your AI or Gen AI journey, I would say you want to shift your mindset just that much. It used to be only certain people had access to this kind of technology. Now we all do. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Right? Are you going to stand on the sideline and kind of hesitate? Or are you going to get in the game and run like Taylor said?
Go out to google.com, do a search.
No, right?
And hit generate and bring up Gemini. And just
plug for Gemini there. If you saw it.
Ask it whatever. If you have an idea, ask it whatever. I use it every day to just answer questions that I know I can answer, but it would take me 30 minutes. As example, this is 9 pages of you sent me the questions, 9 pages of questions, and it took me maybe 2 minutes.
Advice I would give companies that are thinking about AI solutions is probably take a step back and wonder, do you actually need an AI solution? It's typically the first thing you want to kind of to talk about. I read a recent report. Somebody was suggesting, companies are coming in saying, what's your AI strategy? What are you going to do for your AI strategy? And it's just the wrong question fundamentally, right? We need to really be thinking about what is our problem that we need to solve with our customers? What's the data that we need to power that solution for those problems? And then look at AI as a potential option for what you could do in that space. Maybe it's a traditional algorithm that you need, and it doesn't necessarily need to be an AI solution.
That's what's happening with AI. We're literally at a new forefront. So right now you have Google, you have AT&T on the stage. They have to choose to continue to innovate, or they will no longer continue to be the leaders in this space. Like you're talking about Google searches, kids are searching on TikTok. Kids are going to ChatGPT. And so all I would say is if you're a small company, this is your opportunity to get on the saddle. It's a race and you can win it. There's nothing right now that says you cannot win. It's not about having billions of dollars to be able to compete in this space. It's literally about innovate, 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 and of course, always have human interface. So I'm not saying the case of the lawyer, but literally take the brakes off, figure out a division that you trust, and allow them to go hard and fast because all of us could win. It's literally like whether you talk about the 1999 or the internet boom, .com boom, we're here now. And it's the first time I believe in history where women, minorities, small companies, large companies, everybody has an opportunity to reinvent the future.
Those were some powerful highlights from our State of AI event. Now let's continue our conversation with Vincent Allen and Rob Taylor. So, Vincent, what are some of the key legal considerations businesses should be aware of when adopting AI? I know that's like a huge thing when, especially for like in my role in marketing and communications, I see a lot of things, images that are created with AI, and especially in the small business sector, people are trying to sell those images or wondering if they could sell those images, especially like in like AI creating the text for different manuals and all of that kind of stuff. What are some of the things that businesses should be aware of when using AI and adapting these technologies?
Sure, that's a good question. I mean, it really depends on what the use case is, what laws are implicated for any particular Gen AI solution. And there's a wide variety of laws that, as Rob mentioned, and he'll talk more about, some of the various compliance issues that might come up. We obviously have been studying the intellectual property aspects of Gen AI, and that's what you're describing there when you're talking about marketing and using images that are generated by one of these products. What rights do you have in those images, and what can you do with them? Well, generally speaking, if the Gen AI solution generates that image on its own and you don't make any changes to it, well, the Copyright Office has said that image is not protectable by copyright law, and you can't get a registration for it. However, if you were to change the image and you have enough creative input into that image that you now become an author as a human, then you could get copyright registration. Now, there's some requirements. If you use Gen AI, you have to disclose that to the Copyright Office and let them know, what portion of it was generated by the Gen AI solution. But there are ways to protect it. You just have to remember that if it's straight out of Gen AI, the Copyright Office, at least currently, is saying that you can't protect that. The other issue you have with intellectual property is, does the output potentially infringe somebody else's work? Many of these Gen AI solutions, like OpenAI, for example, and ChatGPT, they're all trained by data that was scraped from the internet, including many copyrighted works and images, without the permission of the copyright holder. And so there's currently litigation ongoing in that area about whether the use of those copyrighted works in the Gen AI training of the model is fair use. And if it's fair use, then it would it's okay for OpenAI to use copyrighted works for training. But it remains to be seen whether that is in fact the case. But that issue is different from, well, is your output the same or substantially similar to somebody else's copyrighted work? And if it is, then you're going to be infringing that copyrighted work, irrespective of whether the original training of that model was a copyright infringement in and of itself. So you have to worry about that. However, companies like OpenAI will say, well, unless you're trying to tell it to produce an infringing work by your prompts that you put in, so, produce an image that looks like J-Lo, for example, might be an example of a prompt that was designed to give you, potential infringing material. So if you don't do that, though, and you just put generic prompts in, then chances are you're not going to get a image that is infringing somebody else's copyright, or a web page or content that you generated from AI is probably not going to be infringing, because it's not, generally speaking, it's not taken from one particular source. It's looking at a big database of material in order to determine or predict what the output should be. And so I think that's why you haven't seen a lot of cases against individual users or companies for copyright infringement. The cases have been against the actual LLM model owners, such as, OpenAI, for infringement of using the training data. Some of the other issues that may come up, of course, are, protecting your confidential information. So if you're putting confidential client information into ChatGPT and you don't have any agreement or standalone model that you're using, that data is going to be used to train the model and could potentially be spit out the other side to somebody else who asked a similar question that might draw on that information. So you have to be careful about the confidentiality issues. And there's many other issues like, privacy concerns, bias, potential discrimination. And I'm going to ask, Rob to address those issues, since that's his area of expertise.
Yes, yes. Yeah, Rob, I know you were the brainchild of bringing the AI triage center to the firm. And like Vincent said, you have some information about some legal issues, that often arise, and things that you've seen with clients that you work with that are trying to kind of implement AI-based products in their businesses.
Yeah, it was kind of a natural evolution for us to join forces, because I was involved on the front end of all these Gen AI solutions and developing, the product development lifecycle from conception all the way through go live and then ongoing operations. And as part of that, naturally, there are potential patents that could be obtained on the artificial intelligence technology, specifically with respect to how you're using it. So, I had reached out to Vince on some of those issues, and then the thought occurred that it kind of made sense to partner up, because I'm involved on the front end doing a deep dive on the technology. Patent work is more on the tail end before you go live to see what patents you can get. But there's also the litigation aspect. So it really made sense for us to join forces and create something novel, which is kind of a full service AI law firm. So that's how that partnering evolved with Vince and his firm.
Yeah. Do you have like some specific cases or things that you've seen in the, as you work with clients that, how you're helping them through the AI Triage Center?
So the companies that are looking to adopt generative AI in their business operations, what's primarily the driver is companies are looking at their business operations and trying to find ways in those business processes where they can incorporate generative AI to improve speed, efficiency, save on headcount, and it really accelerate the processes that they're already doing within their businesses. The most common low-hanging fruit businesses are looking at is customer-facing solutions, help desk, chatbots, procurement, supply chain, finance, actually. And so those are all the areas where I've been focusing my attention, is all these immediate opportunities. And so about a year and a half ago, it started out where companies were looking to be first adopters and doing proofs of concept and then pilots. And now we're really full bore into the development and the deployment stage, right? And so companies are actually implementing these technologies. And so it's a really accelerated path from conception to deployment in the technology development lifecycle. So the AI Triage Center is really intended to take the experience of bringing over 50 solutions to market in the last year, and now my pipeline's up to almost 100 solutions. And as part of that, it's been trial by fire. Everybody starting out didn't know what all this Gen AI stuff meant. And so over time, I've really developed a refined process of knowing what questions to ask to get at the heart of what's going on, to identify those risks, help the client develop risk mitigation strategies. And so it all depends on the use case. So for example, I hear, well, a chatbot is a chatbot. Sounds harmless, right? Well, it depends on the use case and the implementation. Are you using a chatbot to answer queries about what's the weather today? Or are you doing a chatbot that you're rolling out to employees to be able to answer questions about HR benefits and policies? And so lawyers think of trying to punch holes in things of worst case scenarios, right? And so the example I use, so talent and HR using generative AI is considered a high risk category. So if a client is going to deploy a chatbot to its employees to answer those HR questions, a good example of the potential liability is, seems somewhat simple, but employee asks a chatbot, when does open enrollment close? And the chatbot says, you have until December 31st to enroll in health plan benefits. When in actuality, the open enrollment closes at the end of October. So the employee logs in on December 30th thinking that they're going to select their benefit plan for the next year, and they find they're locked out. Well, what happens? Well, let's say that employee who doesn't have benefits for health insurance because they missed the window gets cancer the next year, and they run up $500,000 in medical bills that otherwise would have been covered. Now is the company on the hook for that liability because they deployed a tool that hallucinated and gave wrong information on which the employee detrimentally relied, and now is out $500,000. And so when you look at the litigation that's already happened in this area with chatbots, like the Air Canada case, it's just a natural extension where the company's going to be, the companies can't avoid liability by saying, put some third-party tool, or if they'd actually checked the terms and conditions on the website, they would have found out that the truth is something different than what the chatbot gave. No, if you deploy a chatbot and roll it out, you're going to be held accountable for what it does. Just like if an employee did the same thing. If somebody in the HR department gave the wrong advice to the employee or sent out a communication that was wrong, then the company's going to be liable, vicariability of its employees, right? So these are the kinds of things that I help clients with in navigating through all these issues. It's all very specific to the use case, what data is going to be used, what's going to be ingested by the generative AI, what outputs are going to be created, how those outputs are going to be used, where do those outputs propagate through to other databases and things like that. Are third parties going to rely upon it? And so really to get at the heart of that issue, I've developed a process where I look at all the technical stuff. I look at the technical architecture, the workflows, the data maps, the prompt libraries. Oftentimes I joke about a big part of my time is determining what it is. I get presented with a solution and it gets described at a very high level in an innocuous way. But when you start peeling back the layers of the onion, that's where you really get into the heart of what's going on. You can identify issues and help the client navigate through and mitigate the risk to the extent that it's feasible, right? So that's really the genesis of the AI Triage Center, is to take the benefit of having done all these exercises for all these product developments over the last year and a half, and be able to quickly focus in. I know what questions to ask now. I know how to drill down and find out what's going on with solutions and be able to spot issues. And so it's a more efficient process, and it's evolved over time. The other aspect is clients don't want to hear some general summary of what the EU AI Act is all about, right? There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of fear about AI, and the business people that need to implement these solutions, they don't want to hear all that stuff. They want you to help them apply that knowledge and information and basically say, tell me exactly what I want to do. I don't know what human in the loop means for me. I don't know how I need to incorporate that into my solution and what I'm doing. I don't know if it complies or not. So that is one thing that I have evolved is being more focused in creating action items. Okay, the team, based upon what we've reviewed, here are the actions you need to take as a team to mitigate these risks. And it serves more as a checklist. And this is speaking the language of the product managers and developers who are used to those kinds of task-oriented things. Just tell me what I need to do. Don't give me a bunch of noise, generalities. Give me specifically exactly what I need to do. So that's how this whole AI Triage Center has evolved to be efficient and be able to take those inbound queries from clients and quickly triage them and focus in on what's most important. And in the framework of, the use cases and what are high risk use cases versus low risk. And so it's really important to be able to understand the specifics.
Yeah. I mean, I think the work that you all are doing is really well needed. And like, just speaking of clients, I know, like, when someone comes to you, like, how are you distinguishing yourself from the information that you're providing them on AI versus if they go to someone who's just general counsel or a different kind of compliance attorney? Like, how are you, like, setting yourselves apart at Carson, Allen, and Gorley? How are you setting yourself apart by offering this type of service?
Well, it's basically taking the benefit of having navigated through all these solutions that I've helped bring to market, and knowing what questions to ask. Outside of, I've just been fortunate to have that experience, and so at different companies, legal departments may have a few projects for generative AI that they're working on, but they don't have the background of navigating through 50 solutions and figuring out what's important, what's to focus on, how to get at the heart of the issues. And so in some sense, it's probably stumbling through and learning anew, right? So I think that's the thing that differentiates us is we do have that background and experience of bringing solutions to market, navigating through all the tough issues, and having the technical understanding. I get asked all the time, are you an engineer? Like, no, maybe I should have been, but I speak geek. And that's what you have to do to be able to get at the technology, understand it, and communicate with the teams that are going to be responsible for the generative AI solutions that they're either developing or that they're using. And it's really fun. I really like working with all these innovators who are on the cutting edge, looking at solutions, looking how to incorporate generative AI. And it's an exciting time. And companies all need to be looking at how they can incorporate generative AI into their operations. It's just like what's been said about employees. It's not that necessarily that none of us are going to have jobs. The ones that will have jobs, as employees, the ones that have learned how to use AI. The ones that don't take that step, those are the ones that are going to lose jobs. So it's all going to be about how do you incorporate AI into your infrastructure as a business, and how do you navigate through the issues? So we're here to help, and it's exciting to be really, I think what's a novel is being a full service AI firm to help clients in all aspects on their AI journey, no matter where they are. Clients are at different phases. Some are still struggling with the data side of things and the data transformation. If your data platform is a mess, throwing generative AI on top of that is going to complicate things, right? Garbage in, garbage out. And some of the client solutions that are out there, that's one thing that my clients have found when they're rolling these solutions out is they spend a lot of time helping their customers clean up their data platforms and databases in order to be able to leverage generative AI. So companies are all at different stages on their AI journey, but no matter where they are, that's what we're here to help.
Oh, most definitely. And I'm glad you said that, because that was one of the biggest misconceptions of AI was that, it was going to take all, oh, no, you're not going to have a job. There's no need for this. There's no need for that. Once AI steps in, and it's like, no, it's here to enhance and make it better, and actually make it a little easier so that you can focus on a lot of the big stuff, and it can take over some of the repetitive things that you normally do that, may be a little time consuming, that you can focus on something at a more higher level. So I think that's really comforting.
Yeah.
I'm sure our audience would be happy to know that that AI isn't taking their jobs. So Vincent, where do you see the future of AI heading? And how do you think, like, in the future, it'll shape the legal profession?
Well, I think AI is probably the biggest thing since the Industrial Revolution. Of course, the Industrial Revolution took place over a very extended period of time from 1760 to 1840. I think the difference between AI and the Industrial Revolution is that we are moving at a much quicker pace because, it is software based, and it's so easy for people to develop solutions. And when you have this powerful tool at your disposal, and then you can write solutions, write products, write software for various products, I think it's just going to rapidly advance the transformation of our society. In terms of, what it does for the legal profession, again, I don't think it's going to replace lawyers. I do think it's going to make us more efficient. It may mean that we do not have to have as many attorneys in a particular firm to do a particular task. And so it may cut back on the number, but I do think there's going to be opportunities, like Rob said, for those attorneys who adopt and embrace AI solutions. There's going to be opportunities for us because we're going to be able to do things in a more efficient and less costly manner. And eventually, the competition will fall by the wayside if they're not able to keep up. So I think it's going to, again, not just lawyers, but the whole economy is going to be affected by artificial intelligence. And I think that companies have to, they have to embrace it if they don't want to be left behind.
Most definitely. And I think that's, like I said, that's good news of, how we all need to, in various industries, how we need to come up to the standard of technology and to figure out, how technology plays a role in all of our positions. So I think that was really great. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure our audience enjoyed hearing from you. How can we stay connected to what you're doing with the AI Triage Center, and just stay connected with you, just in the future?
Well, of course, you can connect with both Rob and I on LinkedIn. We can also add you to a mailing list that's AI and give you updates on various artificial intelligence compliance issues. We're also in talks right now about developing regular meetings that might occur at our office as well as other locations around the Metroplex. And so if you're interested in getting involved in some of that and, talking to us, having a conversation about AI, and it's not just going to be legal, it's going to be from the technology side too. We want people in the industry to come in and, give talks at these sessions that we're going to be hosting. So that's definitely a way that, you can get involved and stay plugged in on the AI front if this is something that interests you.
Most definitely. Thank you again. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Rob, for joining us on the Business Unleashed podcast. We'll put the information of how they can join the mailing list in our show notes, and just some more links and anything else we want to share in our show notes. Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of the Business Unleashed podcast, and we'll see you next time. And that wraps up another episode of Business Unleashed, a Plano Chamber podcast, presented by Baylor Scott & White Plano. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the legal considerations of AI adoption with Vincent Allen and Rob Taylor. Remember, as businesses integrate AI technologies, it's crucial to navigate the complexities of intellectual property, compliance, and privacy laws to mitigate risk and maximize opportunities. For more guidance, be sure to connect with our experts at Carstens, Allen, and Gorley and learn about their AI Triage Center. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to explore the latest trends and innovations shaping the future of business. Until next time, stay ahead of the curve and keep unleashing your business potential.